All right, next up we will have Mr. Don Hutchins from Maine to discuss vehicle first servicing. So Don, the floor is yours.
I'd like to first introduce you to John Small. John is Transportation Operations Manager for our southern region. He runs our fleet garage down there, as well as the entire fleet for our southern region. So, a couple of questions. Does anybody have a hard time hiring technicians? Can we have a show of hands? Any reasons why? We can yell it out.
Can't find skilled labor.
Skilled labor, absolutely.
We have some geographic areas that are very difficult to hire.
Geographic areas difficult to hire. Because of pay? Yep.
Because of cost of living.
Yep. So the closer to New York you get, the cost of living goes up, and then as you go south, it becomes a better paying job. North. Yep. So it's kind of amazing. We have, each state has something in common. At Maine DOT, we started recognizing that we had an issue in our southern region around 2010 into 2013. We started not finding any technicians. Any technicians that we found, if we started at step one in our pay range, we were paying a little over $13 an hour. So if you've kind of looked around Portland, and not that Peaks Island is a litmus test for Portland, but we saw some of the prices out there, $250,000, $350,000 for a small house. You get back on the mainland here, and it's a couple $100,000 for a small house, and $13 an hour doesn't cut it. On top of that, we also had a shortage of technicians because the culture is changing. Millennials are coming in. They kind of like to work with their hands, but with video game controllers and things like that. So it was kind of tough. So we started looking at what we could do. We looked at contracting out all of our maintenance, going out to the dealers. But when we tried to do that, we basically flooded them, and we couldn't get the service done that we needed because they just didn't have the time to do it. We looked at doing some contracting internally, but we didn't want to lose basically control. We wanted to have somebody come in. We didn't want to shut down our garage and then just have somebody open a garage specifically for us and do our work. So we found a couple of companies that do this type of work, and we went out to bid. And what we asked for was a company to come into our facility and work with our crew supervisor or foreman, and he would divvy up the work and hand it to them. They would have a working foreman there that would give the work to their employees. We also asked that they would be able to work with our parts inventory vendor, Napa. As you guys know, we've gone with Napa. So it was kind of a weird contract. So we went out to bid for the fall of 13, and we asked for a proposal. We wanted to be transparent. We wanted to know what the costs were. So what we asked for was we wanted an hourly rate, we wanted fixed PM costs, and we also wanted to know what their admin costs were going to be. We wanted them to cover call-outs. We wanted, again, them to work well with our parts inventory, and we wanted them to recognize that if they had issues on their end and it held up our operation, that they would pay liquidated damages. So we awarded the bid January, February of 2014 to First Vehicle Services. Anybody heard of the First Vehicle Services company? Show of hands. No? Let me read a little blurb here about who they are. Founded in 1981, part of the First Group family, First Vehicle Services is the largest provider of fleet maintenance services to the public sector in North America, with over 100 contract locations and managing over 38,000 vehicles and pieces of equipment daily. They also own First Student and First Transit. Has anybody heard of those? Buses, right, basically. So we awarded it, and we implemented it. There's probably going to be a couple questions about You know, how did the union take that? The union, we brought them in right at the first floor, and they rode it right up to the top with us. They understood the fact that we could not hire qualified technicians in our area. What we did do is, before we put this contract out, I'll back up a little bit, is we decided to start our technicians at step 4. Step 1 is $13.35, so we figured, well, maybe step 4 will hire some people. That was a big $15.05, so that didn't get us very, very far either. But like Jim was saying, geographic location, you go up in the county, Aroostook County, and that's decent money. And then when they get to top step, step 8, they're around $17.60 an hour. So you can make a living up there, and you can probably do pretty well. Down here, not so much. So we implemented, and we brought them in, and we started to watch them work, and they started doing PMs for us, and we asked that, again, that they put a fixed cost on our PMs. They had come to us after a period of time and said, you know, you're spending more money on this fixed cost because we're getting it done quicker. So we ended up removing that, and it's worked out. It became cheaper. And at this point right now, they have the same hourly rate as we do in our fully burdened rate. But they also have an admin cost that goes on top of that. So they are a little bit more expensive. It's about $4,500 a month for admin costs. That counts basically management of the contract. Sounds like a lot of money, but their production's very high. There isn't much grass that grows under their wheels. They get the work, they do it, they bring it back, and it's done. So with that said, I'd like to have John, give you an idea of how well they've been doing, and any other thing that he would like to say.
Thank you, Don. They're doing very well. It's a very good program. I started at the beginning as a fleet manager. I had been a fleet manager for a month when the program come in, so I've been there from the initial start of it. The first week that they showed up, they took everything that we had in the shop out, steam cleaned it, inspected it, and inventoried it. And they're working towards a lean shop, placing everything that they need where they need it, so it cuts down on time for the technicians and stuff. When we started with 4 techs. About 6 months into the program, we felt the need to add another tech, so we did that. About a year and a half later, we had a field mechanic, one of our own field mechanics, move on to another position outside of state government. We advertised. We couldn't get anybody for the money that we was offering, anybody that was experienced. So what we did is moved that position to our shop and closed up one of our parts rooms for a cost savings by doing that. And we're using that mechanic daily out of our shop. It was one of our own field mechanics that used to work in the garage prior to first vehicle coming in. So we started running him out of our shop in Scarborough, using our parts room, Napa parts room in Scarborough, to cut down on cost. My shop foreman would assign him the work. He would call around, talk to the crew supervisors, find out their needs, and then dispatch our own field mechanic to the location that was needed. At the time, we had 2 other field mechanics still in the field working. We still have them today. Through attrition, we'll advertise as need be, and if we don't get any successful candidates, we'll add another first vehicle tech. We had one of the other techs, the one that was working out of the shop, retire last year, so we advertised again, couldn't find anybody, so we ended up adding the 7th first vehicle tech. And we're doing the same thing. We're running the first vehicle tech out of our shop to go out and service our crew's needs out in the field. When we're not using them in the field, we're using them in the shop. We're pretty centralized to the region, so a lot of the big jobs we'll bring into the shop and do them. We try to do as many of the PM services out in the field as we can to cut down on the cost of running the equipment in and out of the garage. The structure that they're set up is we have a field manager that comes from St. Clair, Michigan. He manages the county out there. He also has a first vehicle location in Chelsea, Mass. That he manages, plus us. He comes in every month and does a safety dinner with the crew, feeds them, and does their monthly safety training. Weekly, the crew gets together every morning, does toolbox talks. The company is very safety oriented. They do a very good job with that. Our lead tech foreman, working foreman for first vehicle, works with our shop foreman. They go around and do our facility inspections every month to make sure we're meeting where we need to be for Bureau of Labor Standards and OSHA. That's turned into our region safety coordinator. Their safety coordinator flies in once a year and does a safety audit of our facility with the crews and stuff and does a big safety meeting. We've recently started utilizing our lead tech, our shop foreman, myself, and our driver trainer. In the southern region, we have a huge turnover of people. So in order to get the proper training, we're hiring people and training them for a Class B license. A lot of the people that we're training now are just driven a Volkswagen. Nothing huge like a dump truck or anything. So what we're doing is we're bringing the new people in to the shop, and we're doing what we call a 50-hour training. And we're utilizing our mechanics, specialized people to do that, and we're seeing great success by doing that. It's helping out the future of the department by doing that, training with them. So, all right. Thank you.
Thanks, John. As far as the experience with them, as you know, we were going through our inventory processes. This was kind of right on the cusp of that. There was a lot of things going on. I kind of call it like a whirlwind. I got to say that we were fortunate that this company is upstanding as they are. They're a very well-run company. I can't think of any problems that we have had with them. Not a one. They're very responsible. They're very safe. Their technicians are top-notch. This doesn't work everywhere, though. The rest of the state, we see little pockets of issues where it's a hard time to hire some technicians, but for the most part, we're doing okay. One thing that comes to mind, hiring younger technicians, qualified technicians, over in our Dixfield office in Western Maine. We have, I lovingly call it the playpen, because we have some young folks over there that have really taken it on. They're doing a great job. They have interest, and if we could all find a few hundred of them, we'd all be very fortunate. In our Bangor area, we have our crew supervisors here today, Wade and Skip, right there. If you raise your hand, they have technicians in Bangor. They do very well. Our administration was rumored to be very big on contract everything out. That is not the case. The understanding that I had was, if it makes sense for the taxpayer, you look at contracting, and if it makes sense financially, you do it. So we look at that specifically like that. If it doesn't make sense, like in Dixfield, Bangor, Caribou, we're doing it in-house. We're very, economical, safe, and efficient. Then we don't necessarily need to do that. This is just another tool in the toolbox for us to use, and I think it's working out great.
What is the hierarchy of this? You say there's a manager from first vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody manages the crew, like in the command.
A working foreman, yep.
Okay, that foreman reports to your shop supervisor?
He reports to the shop supervisor and John, but he also has his chain of command on the first vehicle side, and that's the manager that comes from Michigan.
Okay.
So they're very self-sufficient. The gentleman, the working foreman, has a lot of authority. He can make decisions, and then if he has any issues, he either goes to John or he goes to the manager in Michigan.
Who takes care of the side of it? Does your man take care of it, or do they actually take care of it?
Yeah. What we do is we meet every day usually, unless I have a meeting or something to go to, but I'm in the shop every morning with my shop foreman and our lead tech from them. We go over the day's work. If I'm gonna be on vacation for a week, we'll go over the week's work. We coordinate everything, and sometimes we even bring the Napa manager in, our parts room manager in, and we all sit down and have a weekly meeting on what we're gonna do and stuff. We try to coordinate and schedule stuff so that we cut down on downtime on equipment for our crews. Winter is huge for us, as it is for everybody else. We try to be as efficient as we can and get stuff fixed as quick as we can, because it's not making any money for fleet through our burden charges to keep the stuff, sitting in the garage. We want to get that in and out, back on the road. Not, for us as well as the traveling public.
And there's some coordination as far as the entry of the data into,
Yep.
when you use Asset Works or whatever, does
Asset
your
Works.
staff do it, or do they?
Our shop foreman does all the M5 stuff. He does all the work orders, but three of the first vehicle techs are very savvy with computers, and they have the ability, when they're making repairs, they'll go in and do notes in them. We strive to get our notes into our notes field for our work orders and stuff, so 3 years down the road, we can look back and say, yeah, we did that. So we're working towards it with the rest of our technicians. We have a vast array of technicians. We've got three that are real computer savvy, that do a great job with the computer. They bring their own computer to do diagnostics. It's nothing that we have. They have their own programs. They use Norgan. We have a couple of mechanics that are really good with electrical technicians, hydraulics, some decent fabricators. So, and we've got one old guy that's just miserable and will beat and bang on anything. So that's just, everybody has that, so.
Jimmy?
We manage, we do 24-hour operations for weather-related events. Most of it's wintertime, but occasionally it's not. How do you manage that? Do your shops work 24 hours just for services?
No, what we do, Jim, is we work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. But for the 20 weeks of winter, we usually start in November and go into April on a winter schedule. The three of us will sit down and set up the schedule. They'll have 3 techs on call on the weekend. They'll come in whenever we need them. If it's during the week, they'll still come in. And my shop foreman will come in with them.
So on-call basis as you.
Yep.
In the middle of snowstorms, if it's storming, they'll hold the techs until after the commute, usually 7:30
Yep.
at night.
Yep. Our region starts when you get off the toll booth of the Maine Turnpike and goes right up through Portland here, up to Augusta. We take care of as far as mile 37, so we have the largest part of the traffic in the state, the most population. So my superintendent, we work with our maintenance and operation crews and management team to meet their needs. We always, we have a weekly meeting. Myself and my counterparts meet with the boss every week in the winter, so that we know what's going on. I know what's going on, they know what's going on in the shop. The lines of communication are very open on what's happening in our facility.
I'm just curious, the problem I see is you can't pay the mechanics at a certain rate depending on geography. If you could pay the mechanics by geography based on how your system works, then I take it you would not need this private company, but your hands are tied because you have to pay an across-the-board pay scale no matter what region it is. Is that correct? And the second part of it is, how much more an hour are they paying their mechanics in an area than you could pay?
The answer to the first question is yes. If we could have hired technicians, we probably would not. We'd know of First Bus, First Transit, but we wouldn't know that First Vehicle was in that type of business. As far as what they pay their people, I don't know, but I can tell you that a technician down in this neck of the woods is anywhere from like $5 to $8 an hour more, and they have benefits, and a lot of times the benefits are even better than states.
They can offer something you can't.
Yeah.
They're somewheres in the range of $20 to $30 an hour. I've never asked what they're paying their people. The turnover rate is 1 in 3.5 years that we've been doing the program. I must say that they hand select their technicians, and their interview process is very stringent. Most of the techs have worked together before, so it's word of mouth to the guys that they're hiring. And you all know how it is in the shop when you get somebody ugly and it's a bad apple in the bunch. These guys are great working together.
Training wise, like, I'm sure you bring in manufacturers to train manufacturers in other areas. Is that available to bring the first vehicle services, include them in that, so they're provided that same training as technology changes?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Actually, Mike Pavement from Saris has been in a couple of times and worked with our lead tech on that. Great. It's been great using the vendors as coming in and helping us. The two most advanced techs that we have worked for Ryder and Penske for years, so we got the benefit of them companies training our people.
Just appreciate you coming to Maine, so thank you.
I'll be around all day if anybody needs any questions.
Produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation.